Have you ever walked into your own home and felt like someone had been living there while you were gone? What if the person wasn't a stranger? What if it was your own mother? And what if one open letter on your kitchen counter was about to change everything? My name is Quinn Parker. I am 33 years old. I work in real estate, helping people buy and sell property every day. I spend my life deciding who owns what. Who gets a key? Who has legal access? But the biggest mistake of my life started with a key I gave away myself. And by the time I understood what that key had cost me, it was almost too late. Welcome to the Hidden Family Revenge Stories. This is the story of the key, the letter, and the Sunday morning that changed my family forever. I came home after an exhausting 11-hour work shift. The second I stepped into my kitchen, something felt wrong. Not dangerous. Not broken. Just wrong. My spice jars were lined up in perfect alphabetical order. I stared at them. I never organized them like that. Never. Then I noticed the smell. A strong lemon cleaner mixed with something sharp underneath it. Not my cleaner. I didn't even own that brand. My eyes moved to the kitchen counter. My mail sat in a perfectly neat stack. Too neat. Then I saw it. One envelope. The flap had been opened and pressed back down. It curled slightly at the edge. Someone had opened it. My stomach tightened. My parents had a key to my house. I had given it to them 2 years earlier. At first, I thought the worst thing was that somebody had read my mail. I had no idea how much worse it would become. 2 years earlier, a pipe had burst under my kitchen sink while I was out of town closing a commercial property deal. Water flooded the cabinet. I couldn't leave. My parents rushed over. My father shut off the water. My mother cleaned the mess before it ruined my hardwood floors. They saved me thousands of dollars. I was grateful. That evening, I handed my father a spare key. Just for emergencies, I said. I meant it as a thank you. A safety net. Nothing more. My father turned the key in his hand and smiled. Good, he said. That's how it should be. At the time, I thought he meant emergencies. Years later, I realized he meant something very different. 4 months, nothing happened. The key sat on a hook in their kitchen. I forgot all about it. Then one day I came home and found a casserole in my refrigerator. A sticky note sat on top. Saw your lights off. Thought you skipped dinner again. Love, Mom. I smiled. Honestly, it felt nice. I worked long hours. Coming home to comfort food felt like being cared for. I called her and thanked her. I never asked how she got inside. I already knew. And I didn't want to sound ungrateful. The next week there were 2 casseroles. The week after that, my dish rack had been rearranged. Bowls stacked by size. Plates grouped together. Everything organized. I noticed. I told myself it was sweet. But a tiny voice in my head started paying attention. The same voice that warns me when a real estate file feels wrong before I can explain why. Then more things changed. A blanket folded differently. My towels stacked differently. My junk drawer organized. My coffee mugs moved. My thermostat adjusted. My closets rearranged. Every time I came home, something had been changed. Nothing huge. Nothing dramatic. Just little reminders that someone had been inside my house, making decisions for me. By spring, I could almost track my mother's visits without seeing her. The thermostat would be higher. My dishes would be different. My cabinets would be reorganized. My winter clothes would suddenly be packed away. My summer clothes labeled in neat boxes. All in my mother's handwriting. That spare key wasn't opening a door anymore. It was opening a habit. And habits become dangerous when nobody stops them. The first time I felt real anger, I immediately talked myself out of it. They're retired. They're lonely. They miss me. My mother lost her own mother young. She always needed somebody to care for. I knew all the reasons. The reasons were real. But they didn't change the facts. If a stranger walked through my bedroom while I was gone, I would call the police. When my parents did it, everyone expected me to call it love. I started leaving lights on. It didn't stop them. I started texting before work. Busy tonight. It didn't stop them. Things kept moving. Things kept changing. The question in my mind kept growing. How often were they inside my house? And what else had they decided belonged to them? Finally, I said something. Not a speech. Just one simple sentence. I called my mother on a Tuesday. Mom, I love the food, but I need you to call before you come over. Even if I'm not home. There was silence. A very specific kind of silence. The kind where someone is deciding how to react. Then she spoke. Honey, I was only tidying. Only tidying. As if entering someone's house was as natural as breathing. I know, I said carefully. And I appreciate it. But I need notice. It's my house. The word "my" landed heavily between us. Of course it's your house, she said quickly. Too quickly. I just like making things nice for you. I thanked her. She promised to call first. I hung up feeling proud. I had finally set a boundary. Calmly. Respectfully. Like an adult. Nothing changed. The casseroles kept appearing. The dishes still moved. The thermostat still changed. The promise had simply ended the conversation. It had never changed the behavior. While my home felt less and less like mine, my career was thriving. I was handling the biggest escrow deal our office had seen all year. 12-hour days. Endless paperwork. Huge responsibility. I loved it. I had worked hard for everything. Nobody handed me success. Nobody handed me my house. Nobody handed me my career. I earned it. One Thursday, our regional vice president visited. Her name was Rebecca Sloan. She was smart, tough, and impossible to impress. After watching me solve a difficult problem, she pulled me aside. We're opening a new branch in Tennessee, she said. My heart immediately sped up. We need a lead escrow manager. I stared at her. You're on the short list. For the first time in months, I felt excitement. Real excitement. More money. More responsibility. A huge promotion. A future that belonged entirely to me. I want it, I said immediately. Rebecca nodded. Good. Watch your mail. I laughed. At the time, those words seemed harmless. Later, they would haunt me. 2 days later my brother called. His name was Ethan. And the moment I saw his name on my screen, I knew exactly why he was calling. Mom says you got upset about her coming over. I sighed. I asked her to call first. Quinn, she's just helping. There it was. The family script. The same one every time. Turn my boundary into my problem. It's not about cleaning, I said. It's about entering my house. It's your parents. He said it like that settled everything. As if blood erased ownership. As if being family erased consent. Just let it go, he said. Easier for who? I wanted to ask. But I already knew. Easier for everyone except me. A few days later, I came home late. My mail was sitting on the counter. Again. Perfectly arranged. Too perfectly arranged. One envelope sat at an angle. A tiny detail. Most people wouldn't notice. I noticed immediately. Someone had touched it. Someone had gone through my mail. Again. This time I took a picture. Timestamped. Evidence. Then I made a decision. Saturday. I would get the key back. I even started texting my father. Dad, we need to talk about the spare key. Then my phone alarm reminded me about a business trip. A huge closing. A flight leaving at 5 a.m. I saved the draft. Saturday was only 3 days away. The house could wait. At least, that's what I thought. The next morning I flew out of state. The closing consumed my attention. Meetings. Documents. Signatures. Problems. Solutions. Hours disappeared. Then on the second day, I noticed a missed call from my mother. And a voicemail. I stepped into the hallway and listened. Her voice sounded strange. Too cheerful. Too careful. The way she sounded when she had already made a decision for someone else. Hi, sweetheart. Something came for you. Certified mail. I signed for it so it wouldn't go back. We'll talk when you get home. Love you. Certified mail. My stomach dropped. Rebecca's words echoed in my head. Watch your mail. I immediately called my mother. No answer. I called again later. Nothing. I told myself it could be anything. A tax document. A government notice. Anything. But deep down, I already knew. Something was wrong. Very wrong. And somewhere, a clock had already started ticking. I just didn't know how much time I had left. What I didn't know was this. The certified letter had arrived on the very first day of my trip. The mail carrier needed a signature. Nobody should have been home. But my mother had let herself into my house. She claimed she was watering plants. Plants I never asked her to water. She happened to be standing in my kitchen when the carrier knocked. And instead of leaving the letter alone, she signed for it. She took it. And she brought it inside. Then she looked at the name on the envelope. My name. My future. And she made a choice. A choice that would almost cost me everything. When I finally flew home 4 days later, my house looked perfect. Too perfect. The counter sparkled. The pillows were arranged. Fresh flowers sat on the table. Flowers I never bought. A note waited on the refrigerator. My mother's handwriting. Welcome home, sweetheart. Come by Sunday. The 4 of us need to talk. Don't be upset. We did it out of love. I froze. My heart began pounding. People don't write "don't be upset about casseroles." They write it when they've made a decision for you. And suddenly, I knew. Whatever happened while I was gone. It was much bigger than a clean kitchen. And somewhere in my mail stack, the answer was waiting. I stood in my kitchen staring at my mother's note. Don't be upset. We did it out of love. The words made my stomach twist. Love. My mother used that word every time she crossed a line. Love had become her excuse. Love had become permission. Love had become a way to make me feel guilty whenever I tried to protect my own space. I slowly walked toward the stack of mail. Every step felt heavy. Something inside me already knew what I was about to find. I just didn't know how bad it would be. I sat down at the table and started sorting through the envelopes. One by one. A utility bill. A credit card offer. A grocery flyer. Then I saw it. 3 envelopes. All opened. All carefully pressed shut again. Someone had tried to hide it. But I worked with paperwork every day. I noticed details. I noticed everything. The flaps weren't right. The glue looked disturbed. The paper was bent differently. Someone had opened them. Someone had read them. My hand stayed steady. But my pulse raced. Then I found the envelope. The one I had been dreading. Heavy paper. Professional printing. The company logo. Rebecca Sloane's office. The certified letter. The promotion. The opportunity that could change my entire future. I picked it up carefully. The green certified mail card was still attached. And there was my mother's signature. Not mine. Hers. My chest tightened. The envelope had been sliced open cleanly. Not accidentally. Not by mistake. Someone had intentionally opened it. Someone who believed they had every right to do so. I slowly pulled the letter out. The first thing I noticed wasn't the salary. It wasn't the promotion. It wasn't Tennessee. It was a blue circle. My mother had taken a pen and circled the response deadline. Then she had attached a yellow sticky note. I stared at her handwriting. We'll talk Sunday. Mom. My future. My career. The biggest opportunity of my life. And my mother had scheduled a family meeting to discuss it as if it belonged to everyone. I sat there for a long time. Silent. The house felt strangely empty. Yet somehow crowded. Like my parents were standing beside me even though they weren't there. The deadline was 14 days from the date on the letter. 3 days had already disappeared while I was away. 3 days gone. 3 days wasted. Without me even knowing. I read the offer twice. Then a third time. Everything Rebecca promised was there. The position. The salary. The relocation package. The branch manager title. Everything. Everything except the time my mother had stolen. I barely slept that night. The next morning I called the company's HR department. Not Rebecca. Just the general office. I kept my voice calm. Professional. Controlled. Has anyone contacted you regarding my offer? The coordinator checked my file. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. Actually, yes. I gripped the phone tighter. Someone called claiming to be family. My heart dropped. The room suddenly felt smaller. They said you received the offer but weren't planning to relocate. I couldn't breathe for a second. What? They asked whether the position could be offered to someone else. I closed my eyes. Someone else. My own mother. My own father. One of them had called my employer and tried to turn down my promotion. The coordinator continued speaking. We didn't act on it because it wasn't you. Thank God. But the hiring team saw the note. My stomach sank even further. The damage was already done. A doubt had been planted. Questions had been raised. And it wasn't because of me. It was because somebody else had decided my future for me. I thanked her and ended the call. Then I sat silently at my kitchen table. My hands were shaking. Not from sadness. Not from fear. From anger. Real anger. The kind that sits deep in your chest. The kind that makes your heart pound. This wasn't about casseroles anymore. This wasn't about folded towels. This wasn't about organized spice jars. This was my career. My future. My life. And someone had tried to make decisions about it without me. That afternoon I told my friend and coworker, Rachel Torres. Rachel was an attorney who handled property closings. Smart. Calm. Practical. I explained everything. The key. The mail. The letter. The phone call. She listened quietly. Then she set down her coffee. Quinn, that's not just a family argument. I looked at her. What do you mean? They opened certified mail addressed to you. I nodded. That can be a federal offense. The words hit me hard. Federal offense. Suddenly this wasn't just hurt feelings. This wasn't just family drama. This was serious. Very serious. Rachel continued. They also contacted your employer pretending to speak on your behalf. I stared at her. She wasn't exaggerating. She wasn't being dramatic. She was simply stating facts. You could report this. For a moment I imagined it. Investigators. Questions. Consequences. My parents finally hearing someone tell them they crossed a line. My father finally understanding that being a parent didn't mean owning me. The idea felt satisfying. Dangerously satisfying. I called my mother before Sunday. I wasn't going to walk blindly into whatever family meeting she had planned. She answered immediately. Too quickly. As if she had been waiting. Honey, I've been wanting to explain. Did you open my letter? Silence. Long silence. Finally she spoke. I signed for it so it wouldn't go back. That wasn't an answer. Did you open it? Another pause. Then. I was helping. Helping. The word made me want to laugh. Or scream. Maybe both. You called my employer. I told them you had responsibilities here. My jaw tightened. Responsibilities. There it was. The real reason. Not concern. Not confusion. Control. She didn't want me moving away. She didn't want me 6 hours from home. She didn't want me beyond reach. Then I heard movement. The phone changed hands. My father. His voice was calm. Confident. Certain. The same voice he had always used. Quinn, settle down. I closed my eyes. Here it comes. Your mother was trying to protect the family. Protect. Another excuse. Another new word. Helping. Saving. Protecting. Different labels. Same behavior. Then he said the sentence that changed everything. We'll always have access to our daughter. I froze. Access. The word echoed in my head. Not love. Not trust. Access. Like I was property. Like I belonged to them. Like my permission didn't matter. I hung up. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I simply ended the call. Then I sat in silence. His words replayed over and over. We'll always have access to our daughter. Would they? Would they really? That night I opened my laptop. I found the federal reporting website. I read everything. Slowly. Carefully. Opening someone else's mail. Obstruction of correspondence. Serious penalties. Real consequences. I had evidence. Photos. The envelope. The phone call. The timeline. Everything. I could do it. And for a moment, I wanted to. The next morning my brother Ethan called. Of course he knew. In our family, information traveled faster than apologies. Mom is devastated. I said nothing. You're acting like they committed a crime. They opened my mail. Silence. They called my employer. More silence. Then he said exactly what I expected. You wouldn't actually report them, would you? There it was. The real fear. Not whether they were wrong. Whether I would finally stop accepting it. I filled out the report. Every detail. Every date. Every fact. Then I printed it. 2 pages. I placed them on the table. Beside the opened envelope. Beside my mother's blue circle. 2 paths. One toward punishment. One toward something else. I sat there for hours. Thinking. Coffee growing cold. The report waiting. And slowly I realized something. If I sent it, the story would become about me. Not what they did. Not the letter. Not my future. Me. I would become the daughter who reported her parents. The original problem would disappear beneath the argument. And somehow they would become the victims. The next morning I called Rachel. I filled out the report. And? I can't send it. She stayed quiet. Then asked a simple question. What do you actually want? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Finally I answered. I want my future back. And? I want my house back. Rachel smiled. Even through the phone I could hear it. Then go get those things. The answer suddenly became clear. I didn't need revenge. I needed freedom. They were not the same thing. I tore up the report. Right there in my kitchen. Page after page. Gone. Not because they deserved forgiveness. Not because I was weak. Because punishment wasn't my goal. Freedom was. My first call was to Rebecca Sloan. She answered immediately. Quinn. Rebecca, I need 90 seconds. Go ahead. I explained everything. Not dramatically. Not emotionally. Just facts. Someone had interfered with my mail. Someone had contacted the company without permission. I wanted the position. I was committed. I was ready. And I was not backing out. Rebecca listened. Then sighed. I'll be honest. My stomach tightened. The note on your file caused problems. I felt sick. I already started discussing another candidate. My heart dropped. I had come so close to losing everything. Without even knowing it. Then Rebecca continued. But it didn't sound like you. Hope returned. Just a little. So I waited. I nearly cried with relief. Not because she saved me. Because my reputation had. Years of hard work had bought me one final chance. She gave me a deadline. Friday. And one difficult conversation with a regional director. I accepted immediately. That afternoon I fought for my future. The next day I fought again. And by Thursday evening I got the call. The position was mine. Officially. I had won it back. Then came the second step. The key. I called a locksmith. The easiest call of my life. Saturday morning. 9 o'clock. Done. No arguments. No speeches. No permission required. The locksmith replaced both locks. 20 minutes. That was all it took. 20 minutes to undo 2 years of unwanted access. When he handed me the new keys, I felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Peace. Real peace. After he left, I picked up the old spare key. The emergency key. The kind key. The mistake. I placed it inside a plain white envelope. No note. No explanation. No argument. Nothing. Just the key. Then I mailed it. Sunday morning arrived. I woke early. Made coffee. Sat quietly. Waiting. Not afraid. Not nervous. Just ready. The locks were changed. The promotion was secured. The future was mine again. At 10 o'clock I heard a car. Doors opening. Footsteps. Voices. Then it happened. The sound I had been waiting for. A key entering a lock. Scrape. Pause. Scrape again. Nothing. The old key no longer worked. My father tried again. Harder. Then came knocking. Then pounding. Quinn. I stood calmly inside. Listening. Finally I walked to the door. I looked through the window. My father stood there holding the useless key. Anger spread across his face. Beside him stood my mother. Holding the envelope. The empty envelope. The one containing the returned key. She understood. My father didn't. Not yet. I opened the door. But I didn't step aside. I remained in the doorway. My side. Their side. A clear line between us. What is this? My father shouted. I changed the locks. His face turned red. You changed the locks on your parents? Yes. His voice rose louder. We have a right to be here. There it was again. That word. Right. As if permission no longer mattered. We'll always have access to our daughter. The neighbors could hear him now. The entire street could hear him. And for the first time, I simply let the words hang in the air. No arguing. No defending. Just truth. A grown man demanding access to a house he didn't own. You had access because I gave it to you, I said calmly. For emergencies. My mother lowered her head. You used it to read my mail. Silence. You used it to answer for me. More silence. Access was never a right. I looked directly at my father. It was a privilege. Then I turned toward my mother. She looked heartbroken. And honestly? Part of me hurt too. Because I knew she loved me. But love without respect becomes control. And control destroys trust. I was only helping, she whispered. The words sounded weak now. Broken. I know, I said softly. And I meant it. I knew she believed that. But believing something doesn't make it right. Then I said the sentence that ended everything. A key isn't a right. The deed is. Silence. Complete silence. For the first time in my life, my father had no answer. None. I looked at both of them. When you're ready to knock instead of unlock, call me. My mother's eyes filled with tears. I love you. Then I added one final sentence. But you don't get a key to my life anymore. And I gently closed the door. The lock clicked. Soft. Quiet. Final. Through the window I watched them walk away. Slower than they arrived. My mother holding the envelope. My father holding the dead key. And for the first time in years, my house felt like mine. The family stayed angry for a while. Calls. Messages. Complaints. A few relatives took sides. Then eventually the noise faded. Because there was nothing left to argue about. The boundary existed. And this time it held. That Friday I officially accepted the Tennessee position. I signed the papers. My signature. My decision. My future. Nobody else's. A month later a text arrived from my mother. I'm sorry I opened the letter. I was afraid of losing you. I read it twice. Then I replied. Thank you for saying that. I love you too. Come visit when I'm settled. Just knock first. And that's how the story ended. Not with revenge. Not with police. Not with courtrooms. With a lock. A boundary. And a woman finally understanding something she should have known all along. Love does not need a key. Love knocks. And waits for the door to be opened.